Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start this analysis by just adding my voice into a feature that I watched. The BBC did a feature in Kericho on how women are sexually exploited in pursuit of those jobs. I think as a country, we need to have a discussion about this sometime. And I think the relevant authorities should pick up this matter because that is just T sector. Ask yourself other sectors. So we must have tight legislation and punishment on attempts of sexual extortion, especially in the places of work. I think it's something that it's a discussion we should have. So if you've not watched the BBC feature, it's called The Cost of Tea, Sex for Tea. Very bad. Let's come back to our analysis. This man you are seeing in your screen is Gidi Mburu. He was the ED, head of Kenya Revenue Authority, and he was appointed in July 2019. And then after 3 years contract, his contract was extended for more 5 years. And 8 months from now, his contract was supposed to end. This man was credited for the great success of the tax collector. But that also came at a cost. Remember, when they achieved their target, by the way, for the first time, they actually surpassed their target. But there was a cost to it. It came at a cost of clamping down high-profile tax evaders or tax evasion-related cases that later on were branded as political witch hunt. And some of the people that faced the wrath of Mburu actually later realized that they coalesced around William Ruto and fueled and oiled his presidential bid. So this is normally a sector that is very critical, I can tell you. Uhuru Kenyatta did his best to push to the wall to make sure that he receives his target. But at the end of the day, the whole thing turned because the sword turned against him and it was all political witch hunt. Of course, we later saw that some of those cases have been dropped, lack of evidence and different premises have been created. But then things have to move on. This man has left KRA. I want us to look at that. Before we delve deep, if you're watching this video for the first time and you've not yet subscribed, I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel. It's the red note there. You can just click, you'll subscribe. Then you'll click a notification bell. There is some sort of something that looks a bell besides that notification button, so that when we publish a video, you will be notified. And I continue to say thank you. It's barely 1 year since we started. We are at 42,000 subscribers. We don't take it for granted. Naendelea kusema santeni sana. Nashukuru sana. This move came. The KRA boss Mburu resigned yesterday. And according to reports, it was a very tense session because the fate was sealed. Immediately Ruto came in, his fate was sealed. Number one, either he would resign or he would be ejected by the new board that was formed. Remember, Francis Mudhaura his contract also was terminated, and that job given to former Director of Elections at UDA, Anthony Mwaura, who became the chairperson of the KRA board. Now, I was reading the Nation that there is the style of leadership between the two are different, because Mudhaura, the Ambassador Francis Mudhaura, was more of a behind-the-scene person. He was not in the limelight. But unlike Mudhaura, the new chairperson, Anthony Mwaura, is have taken the position of an operational role and is more active and hands-on the KRA activities. So the approach has been different. However, Ruto also claimed by then that his close allies were targeted for political persecution or were being intimidated so that they could abandon him. So that was a political premise that was created at the campaign trial. And when they were coming, when they got power, of course, there was a lot of discussion on what was going on after some of those people were actually appointed in government. Now, I just want to speak passionately about this because the KRA, or rather the taxman here, is the custodian of the Kenyan shilling, is the custodian of the state shilling. When they can collect, the tax issue, the tax regime, the custodian of a tax regime is the KRA. And it has a big potential in terms of even all this we're talking about. UDA have a very elaborate plan on how they are going to increase their tax collection. And I have seen one of those that William Ruto used to say, and this analysis, we need to just tell you what is it, that the president spoke about automated tax regime, automatic, so that kuna ile zile zenye watu walikuwa wanaweka kwa mfuko. I've seen the bit of that automation, and policy has been not targeting, but the person that has been feeling the pinch is the common man down there, or rather the Wanjiku. That is something that has been creating a discussion in this country because people feel that the man down there is being overtaxed. And I know for some reason there is a possibility that this was a shakeup that was done maybe from the influence of our president, or President William Ruto. There is a high possibility. But what should worry them, or what should worry the advisors, is that if some of these decisions are being made on political environments, if some decisions are reached because of some political environments without clarity of the goal, then we run the risk. And I want to tell you the danger. One of the problems we have in this country as we speak is unpredictable tax regime. Unpredictable tax regime where, when for people to invest in this country, they should know. Mimi tax ndalipa ni hii na hii na hii na hata ita change this and this will be this way. Because business thrives on friendly tax environment. Now, when it's unpredictable, it scares away the investors. In fact, the investors lack confidence because no one wants to put a business in a place where you don't know when next the tax is going to change or when next things are going to change. We've seen, there's some, Linus Keke, I think, was saying the other day that some 18 companies have closed. And we've seen that departure. During Uhuru Kenyatta's time, the taxman clamped down some businesses, and one of the worst affected was that Keroche. So this is something that has been going on in terms of a balance between collecting without being seen as overtaxing the big businesses, and also just going after making sure that it's solid. With some adjustments, there's normally a possibility of disruptions, in fact, in terms of a tax regime. In fact, what President Ruto should actually ensure is our tax regime is stable, or our tax policy. At least we don't change it every year or every regime, because businesses have 5-year, 10-year plans. And if you have our tax regimes that are changing at every 2 years, then you're already causing disruptions. So this is aspect that need to be looked at. Then the second thing that I see a danger in political infiltration on the taxman is, the tax can be used to kill competition, and that would create monopolistic markets. Monopolistic markets is, what I mean here is, like the kind of market that Kenya Power enjoys. They don't have a competitor. So for example, we have competitive products. If some people will sit politically right with the administration of the day and maneuver their way to within the tax corridors, then they will be having very joyful hours in the paradise. While the other businesses that do not benefit from those tax maneuvers will be going at losses. In fact, if I can handle my tax in a very friendly manner behind the scenes, then I'll have the luxury of even lowering my price and outweigh competition. And so, who loses in a monopolistic market? The person that loses is the consumer, or rather the population, because when it's a monopoly, business is owned by individual, anapata biashara, anapata profit. But because that business doesn't have a competition, there is a possibility of quality going down or the prices not regulated or less regulated, because if anything more too. So this aspect, this is a place that we must be very sensitive. If I would be President Ruto, I would have pulled a shocker. So watu wanataka, ukishajua hiyo watu wa Korambo wanasema huyu aende, huyu aende, huyu aende, huyo ndio sasa unaacha, then unamwambia I want you to continue doing what you are doing, because how will it be easy to go for the big men if you're already chasing this person because past history? The other thing is this: we must go after the sky team, the big fish, the tax evaders, because I agree that kila mtu alipe tax. No one has a problem with that. Be it Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, everyone must pay tax. But then the everyone must pay tax must not be selective. Everyone must pay tax. Haimaanishi tu eti hustler hapa chini. If you can go after the big boys that are evading the tax, then you can even relieve the hustler, because the hustler ndio ana consume product. You know, the big-eyed companies, the consumer is the hustler. But then the hustler is being taxed, but the man up there is not being taxed. If we can go after them the way Uhuru did, you know, KRA achieved its target last financial year. It was not because of taxing the mtu hapa chini. It was because of going after, even though it comes at litigation, unajua cases hapa na pale. But the more you go after the big boys, you negotiate and get, you're gonna reach your target. Lastly, political revenge can best be achieved using the weapon of the tax. Now, that is why I am against a situation where people are coming from political corridors going there. Just on that, just pick experience, merit, qualification, and people who, first, they do not have political ambitions. They are not from the political corridors, because, for example, wale ambao wanafeel ni kama Uhuru hakufanyia vizuri, they will want to use that. What is the risk of using the tax weapon? It has the risk of making political contestation very volatile and hostile. It worked the last general election. The reason why kulikuwa na mauchungu mingi and a lot of tension in the last general election in the campaigns was because of this thing. So Ruto should not fall into that trap. There's no problem resigning, of course. It's not the first. He's not the first person leaving the office. But I think on the tax, we need to be very cautious, because otherwise we are going to fall into a trap that hatutajitoa. We will be in some sort of a hole. It will be difficult to jitoa hapo. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my take. Let's meet in the next.